Empire. Welcome to the Football Jones podcast. I am Mike Jones. Thanks for coming back for another episode, jam-packed as always. You're going to hear from Kimberley Martin, senior NFL writer from Yahoo Sports, as we talk about young quarterbacks in the NFL, because that's the theme this year. We're going to break down Daniel Jones, compare and contrast their handling of him with Dwayne Haskins' development with the Washington Redskins. Going to talk about some other contenders, pretenders around the NFC. And then, as always, going to get to my game-by-game preview, predictions, and players to watch. Thanks for coming back. Let's go. All right, so we're going to jump right into this. I wanted to get the expertise of somebody who is close to the Giants, because young quarterbacks, like I said, are the theme this year, the topic. We've got, last week we saw Dwayne Haskins get his first NFL action, and he was doing it against Daniel Jones. And because they're divisional rivals, and because I still hear from a ton of Redskins fans, lots of questions asking about Haskins' handling versus some of the other young quarterbacks handling around the league, I wanted to talk to Kimberley Martin, because she's covered the Redskins, she's covered the Giants, she covers the league as a whole, and full of insight. She's been up there on the scene in New York, and so we're going to tackle all that stuff right now in our first big segment of the episode. And we're back, as promised, with Kimberley A Martin, senior NFL writer for Yahoo Sports, and also an analyst for Yahoo's Cover 3 NFL Monday night pregame show that comes on every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Very happy to have Kmart here, one of my best friends in the business. Been covering the league for a long time, many teams, the Jets, the Redskins, the Bills, and a little bit of Giants too, and now she's covering the league as a whole. So Kimberley, thanks for joining me on the Football Jones podcast.
First of all, I just have to thank you for stepping aside from the Redskins beat to allow me to work at the Washington Post. I figured now you have a chance to use that Jay Reed joke. So I appreciate you giving me a chance.
It was the least I could do to open the doors.
Open the doors for a youngin' such as myself. Yes. I appreciate it, Jay Reed. I appreciate it.
For those who don't know, Jason Reed, who was at the Washington Post on the Redskins beat before me, always says that he stepped aside so I could have
20 years ago, he was on the beat 20 years ago, and still says every time he sees Jonesy, I stepped aside, which is ridiculous. But now Jonesy can say it to me, so I appreciate you.
And now you're like even way more big time than I am, so maybe one day I can grow up and be like Kmart. But anyway, I wanted to have you on because you are up there in New York, and while you bounce around all over the league, you have a good pulse on the Giants and the Redskins, and young quarterbacks is kind of a theme of the league this year. Daniel Jones, and we saw, surprisingly, Dwayne Haskins versus Daniel Jones, and so I wanted to talk to you about that. Okay, second start for Daniel Jones. He gets another win. What do you think of it? Is he actually playing well, or is he just played against two bad teams? Just what do you take from what you've seen from him in 2 weeks?
I think if you are a fan base that is desperate for oxygen, Daniel Jones has supplied that for you and more, right? But the question is he good, or is he just better than Eli? Like, I think there are I think the problem with Daniel Jones is he's replacing a guy that fans and the coaching staff really wanted to move on from. So he's in this spot where they're going to make it as easy as possible for the kid right now. He's looked impressive, but keep in mind, had the Bucs game gone differently, had the Bucs actually kicked that field goal, we would not be talking about Danny Dimes, the second coming of Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be like, the kid played well, Giants didn't win. Okay, now they're 0 whatever, So the last game, he didn't look as sharp, but still, since replacing Eli, all that matters is he's 2-0. when he doesn't look flustered in the pocket. When pressure comes, he's able to escape, which is, he's not a statue like Eli. So just having a functionally mobile quarterback makes all the difference for the Giants. And they feel like, this is a kid they believe in. Full bloom love is how GM David Gettleman described it when they drafted him that night. I was sitting in the auditorium and I was just like, whoa, these guys, I've never, like how they raved about this kid. It was good to see. I didn't agree with the pick at the time, but it was good to see that from a head coach, GM, they're all on one accord and in lockstep in believing that this is the guy.
But that's how it should be, right? If you're going to invest in a quarterback, a high pick in a quarterback, everybody's got to be on the same page. And for several years, the Giants have not been on the same page as their quarterback. Ben McAdoo tried to bench Eli and move forward.
He did, yep.
Right?
Yep, he did bench Eli, bring in Geno, then he went back to Eli.
Yeah,
exactly.
He got fired. They went back to Eli. They should have drafted Sam Darnold. They did not draft Sam Darnold. And then they just kicked the can down the road a little bit further, and they tried to stick with Eli again this year, and it's on to Danny Dimes. But so finally, they are all on the same page. Do you know how they finally convinced the ownership that let us do this our way, let us go with the quarterback that we want? Because John Mara was the reason why Eli was still the starter.
Yeah, Mara, I think the Mara's, proud family, proud franchise ownership, very emotional. The Ben McAdoo benching of Eli went so horribly wrong from a PR perspective as far as how the move was received by fans. New York Talk Radio was apoplectic. How dare they treat Eli like this? Also, benching him for Geno Smith, which New Yorkers had seen Geno with the Jets and were not at all pleased. So if you're going to bench Eli, is this really the guy? And then to sort of flip-flop on it, I think what happened was John Mara, spent the offseason trying to atone for that mess up, in a sense of sitting Eli and having the head coach and not on the same page. So even earlier this offseason, John Mara had told reporters, in a perfect world, Eli would be our starter the whole season, all 16 games. You'd never see Daniel Jones. Well, okay. Well, that didn't really work out, did it? But I think, honestly, Giants fans booing at MetLife Stadium, booing Eli, booing the offense. The offense looks so lethargic. It was so lifeless and painful to watch. And so now the question is, was Eli holding this offense back? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not killing Eli. I think how they handled him was completely wrong. But I do see that there was a time to shift. Like, that from a locker room perspective, it's like, you keep losing games. It's hard to still say we believe in Eli, and the players in the locker room are still getting on board. Daniel Jones, a new quarterback, brings in a new spark, energy. Everybody wants to do well for the kid, wants to see the kid do well, and there's at least hope for the future.
Gotcha. Okay. So, like you said, he wasn't very smooth, didn't look as sharp. They still won because they were playing against the Redskins. Do you think that we're going to see kind of those up and down type of games from him? Or do you see it kind of him just progressing upward?
Well, I think you can see both. You can see up and down. This is the thing I tweeted actually to Redskins fans in regards to Dwayne Haskins, someone we're going to touch on very soon. But it said, once you put a rookie out there, as a fan base, get ready for the roller coaster, because that's what's going to happen, what should happen. These guys, they're not kids, but they're kids. All of this is new. So there are going to be record-breaking games like Daniel Jones has in his debut as a starter. Then there are also going to be some slip-ups. They're playing the Patriots, these things are going to happen, and you have to be able to ride the wave and build the confidence even as they struggle. There's growing pains for everybody. Look at Baker Mayfield from year 1 to year 2. It's not going to be easy for Daniel Jones or any of these young guys.
Right. So a lot of Redskins fans, we're probably not going to see Dwayne Haskins this Sunday, at least not starting. I think they're going to go with Colt McCoy.
I would agree with you. I hope we don't see Dwayne Haskins for his sake.
Right. But as they play the Patriots, that'd be just an absolute disaster. But a lot of Redskins fans are looking at him. They're looking at Kyler Murray. They're looking at Gardner Minshew, and they're like, well, why is our guy not playing if all these other teams can go to their rookies? Do they have a point there in your mind?
They have a point. I understand that thought process intellectually. The thing that I would think fans are missing is that not all quarterbacks are created equal. Not all people are created equal. So I think if you have a Russell Wilson that's drafted in a later round, you have a Dak that's drafted in a later round, it's sort of Gardner Minshew, it's sort of like, well, I wasn't drafted to be the guy, but what do I have to lose? I'm going to just go out there and play loose. What's the worst that can happen, right? I think the difference between, especially when you have the New York Giants and the Redskins, same division, same situation as far as putting in a young guy drafted in the first round. The difference, like you and I talked about earlier, was the Giants love, from top to bottom, love Daniel Jones as a player, as a person, believe that he's the future. There is no disagreement between the GM, ownership, and the head coach. Whether that turns out to be right, is Daniel Jones going to be the savior of New York Giants football? I don't know. We're going to see. But they are all going to find out together. The Redskins, it is not the same situation between ownership, Dan Snyder, Bruce Allen, Jay Gruden. They don't all feel the same way about Dwayne Haskins. And that is the problem. So when I say I hope for Dwayne Haskins' sake that he's not out there against the Patriots, it's not because I'm down on the kid or I think the kid's not good. It's because this situation is not the best for a young kid who needs he needs some seasoning. He needs time to grow into the role. And when you have a head coach who's fighting for his job, I don't think anybody out there believes Jay Gruden's going to be the head coach next year. That's not a great situation for Haskins. And you and I were at the combine. You and I had conversations. Had conversations where we walked away from it like, yeah, Jay Gruden, it doesn't seem like he's a Haskins guy, or he's big on Haskins. You and I both felt that in February. Right. So fast forward, and Jay Gruden has to make a decision between Case Keenum, who's giving you every reason to bench him, Dwayne Haskins, and then Colt McCoy, who's coming back from injury. That's not an easy spot for him either. Right.
And also, I think the thing is that people, like you said, all quarterbacks aren't created equal. Daniel Jones was raised in a pro-style offense at Duke. Same guy who developed and grew
Peyton,
taught him how to play like an NFL quarterback. Dwayne Haskins came from Ohio State, where they're running this spread offense. They're not calling plays in the huddle. They get a number from the sideline. He claps his hands. The ball is snapped. Everything is schemed out. It's totally different. He, at training camp, was still trying to learn how to call plays in the huddle.
And how complicated is Jay's verbiage? I shouldn't say complicated, but how long?
Oh, no.
That's part of the issue too. Yeah.
I mean, he had just walked off the practice field, and I asked him, okay, well, give me a dummy call. And he was like, okay, trips right, shift Y, Z, X, Wanda, wait a minute, no. And they had to start over again, and he'd just come off the practice field. So if you're still trying to process all that stuff, it's not, yes, I think he's got all the ability. I think he's more mobile than what people think. Yes, he's going to look at defenses, and he's still got to learn to recognize, but there's all these little nuances. And I think when Jay put him out there, I think basically he kind of was like showing everybody upstairs, see, I've been trying to tell you, the kid ain't ready yet. Yeah, he's got ability, but 3 interceptions, he wasn't the most accurate. There were lumps. But I think that he's doing the right thing in that you can't just play him when he's not ready. But I know some people have fought with the fact that, okay, Jay Gruden isn't modifying his approach. Kyler Murray's running the same system he ran in college.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys, will modify their offenses to, just like the Shanahan's did with RG3, overhaul their offenses, run a system, a scheme that's similar, that RG3.
For this kid, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Jay Gruden, as he even showed when Griffin was here, when Griffin was in year 3, Gruden doesn't overhaul his offense for you. You learn my offense, and then you play in it.
But that's the issue. Kyler Murray, you mentioned, he's got Kingsbury. Like, that's a coach who Arizona knew they were going to get months before they hired him. Kyler Murray was the guy they were going to draft before the draft. So that was all part of their plan, but everybody's on one accord. Right. So Jay, can you kill Jay? If you're Jay, honestly, Mike, if you're Jay and you're looking at, these are my quarterbacks, this is my roster, are you caught between a rock and a hard place here?
Well, I think it kind of hinges on how bad you want the job. If Jay Gruden really, really, really badly wanted to stay there, I think that then you kind of rip up your offense and you modify it and you kind of run something similar. But if you're like, you know what, I'm going to win my way, and maybe that's the way to do it. If you have convictions that this is the best way to win in the NFL, you go down with that ship and you say, I'm going to win my way. I'm not going to just cater to this kid who hasn't earned anything. And I'm going to roll with Keenum until Colt gets back. And then I'm going to go down with my boy who I've wanted to get in there, and he's gotten hurt every single time I've started him. And then, I'll push the kid down, like hold the kid, back as long as I can until we have to go with him. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn. You invest in a guy, then make it work for him. But again, if Jay doesn't really want to make it work and he feels like this is the way you win in the NFL, everybody else at every other position is having to learn and adjust to a pro style offense and defense. So this kid at quarterback should as well. But that goes back to all the dysfunction.
You mentioned invest. You've invested in this kid. Who has invested that? And that really that's the bottom line with the Redskins. Who's invested in Dwayne Haskins' success? Is it Jay? Is it ownership? It should be all three. As far as Bruce Allen, team president, and Dan Snyder and Jay. I think Jay is in a position where a lot of coaches feel like, listen, I'm gonna be out. I know I'm going out, but I'm gonna go out my way. There is something to be said for that. But you mentioned the ship going down. Jay's about to go down, and it's not funny because I think he's dealt with a lot from the injury standpoint. Everybody loved Alex Smith. That to me was like, okay, you can debate whether it's Alex Smith a lot better than Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to have that debate. I thought everybody being on board with Alex and the type of teammate he was and person, I was excited to see okay, can Alex Smith make the Redskins a stable, give them that stability they've been craving. And for him, I know you had written a column where you deep dive on the Redskins, and you mentioned people feel like this franchise is cursed. That Alex Smith injury felt like you got to be kidding me. How could this happen to this guy at this point in time? So I think that totally sent everybody in a different direction as far as how can we win now? And that's what we're seeing. And Haskins I'm not saying they're setting him up to fail, because it's on the kid to get these plays down, to do whatever he has to do in the meeting room and breaking down film and stuff. But if he's your guy, is he your guy? I guess we're about to see over the next couple months of the season if Jay's going to come around or not.
Right. So okay, that's I guess enough of the Redskins and the Haskins and Daniel.
Is it ever enough for us? Two former Washington Post report. Is it ever enough Redskins talk? Come on.
It never ends. It doesn't. It never freaking ends. Okay. So speaking of another Redskins quarterback, Kirk Cousins up in Minnesota. Okay.
Oh Lord.
Year two of this fully guaranteed 3-year, $84 million deal. And he's in hot water because he's got his number one wide receiver, the leading receiver in the league last year, Adam Thielen, is getting really heated because this offense, they won 11 games with Case Keenum. They were a game away from the Super Bowl. And they thought, let's let Keenum go and let's sign Kirk Cousins and he's going to put us in the Super Bowl. And here we are. They didn't make it to playoffs. They've lost 2 divisional games. What's the deal with Kirk Cousins?
You tell me. I honestly, who's worth $84 million guaranteed? Kirk Cousins' agent, Mike McCarthy, is worth $84 million guaranteed, because $84 million, you would think that would buy you a ticket to the Super Bowl. You would just think, based on the upgrades they made on defense, offense, you got the quarterback, you got the guy that we believe in, he can do it. And it has looked very Redskin-esque. And I don't mean, and I'm not saying the Vikings have looked good at times, and then they just look so out of sync. And this season, you just expected for them not to make the playoffs. You figured this year, everything would come together for Kirk. And the argument in Washington for him is they didn't believe in me, which they didn't. He's right. Redskins, top to bottom, didn't believe he could be the guy. All right. Didn't have any weapons on the Redskins roster. All right. He was right. Okay. He's got all that. He's got belief. He's got money. He's got talent. What's not happening? Mm-hmm. And for them to be 0-2 in the division right now, that's the problem. And when and here's the thing. I thought last year when Kirk tried to school Adam on how this is how you run the route and showing him and gesticulating on the sidelines, I thought that was a bad look. I felt like, okay, Kirk, there's some things that you need to focus on. For Thielen now to be so frustrated with the play calling, and I understand they've got a great running back, but the thing is, you can't just be a running team. You can't, in this NFL, like, you have to be able to throw deep. Mm-hmm. They can do that, and they're not doing that. So credit to Adam Thielen for just saying, look, this is a problem. And for calling his quarterback on the carpet too, play callers and the quarterback, because all of it is not working.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, the window is this was their window, I think, because you've got the Packers who are starting over with a new head coach. Last year they were down. Chicago last year had a new head coach, and that was kind of their window, this 3-year window to capitalize. And it's not working so well this year, and the next year is the last. They've really got to get this thing figured out now.
And if you're the Vikings, do you feel like if you guys miss the playoffs this year, or if you guys lose early in the playoffs, next year you got to make a decision, like, is Kirk our guy? Right. It's going to be the same thing. Like, he's not terrible.
No.
He's really good at times. And other times you're like, he looks like any other average dude, except his payroll, like the payroll on the Vikings, like, they're paying a lot of guys money on offense. Too much money for this offense to not be sort of high-powered. Not saying it should be Chiefs-like, but they've got enough talent where they should be rolling on all cylinders.
But then I can almost feel like, look, they had conflict last year. They fired their offensive coordinator just several months after hiring him because Zimmer wanted to be a grinding, pounding, run the football team. But you've got this personnel that is, well, you've got the wide receivers and tight ends for passing attack, and then Cousins does play well off of the play action. They just kind of seem like not dysfunctional Redskins type of dysfunctional, but there's
nothing's like that. Right. Stop it.
But there's just it's just kind of chaotic there, and so that's why I feel like. And then the Lions are starting. I think that this window is gonna open on them, and at least Cousins and his family would be taken care of. But it's not what they had thought.
Meanwhile, Redskins fans are sitting back like, we could have told y'all. We tried to tell y'all, but you didn't listen. Meanwhile, they're stuck with Case Keenum, wondering where's some of that Minnesota magic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, not a good situation. They got to get that squared away very soon.
Yeah. So, okay, I feel like the NFC is wide open. The Saints, Drew Brees is out, and Teddy Bridgewater is helping them tread water, even though their defense is carrying them. The Rams are vulnerable. I know you spent time in Tampa. They have shown some, had an impressive win there, but they're building. Who's the team to beat in the NFC? Is it San Francisco? I mean, who's real? San Francisco's undefeated.
Right.
The Packers are 3-1. The Rams are 3-1. Mm-hmm. Who's legit in the NFC?
I think we're about to find out over the next 3 weeks or so. I think now the early part of the season, I think you catch some teams off guard. There's some teams that start off slow. So you're like, whoa, we're going to find out what Dallas is really and truly. The Saints preseason, the Saints were my Super Bowl pick. I was there last year at the Super Bowl. As were you. I felt like the Saints should have been there last year. I thought, okay, this is the year they've been robbed too many times. They're going to use that. Breeze, he may not be able to throw it deep, but they've got the defense. They've got the Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. And so for Breeze to go down, I was like, well, there goes my pick.
Yeah.
But like you said, Bridgewater still he's still getting back to starter not ability, but you know what I'm saying? Like he's getting back to that role. And 2-0 in Breeze's absence, to me, like the Saints still are the team to beat. I was very high on Dallas. I thought that was a very good statement win for the Saints, and particularly their defense. And why it was impressive was because their defense is showing you, we may not have our starting quarterback, our future Hall of Fame quarterback, but we've got a defense that can carry us when we need to. And Teddy does just enough. And there'll be games where I think Teddy will improve as, the weeks go on. And so I think he'll keep them afloat. The defense will keep them afloat so that when Breeze gets back, everything, I think they're going to be the team that you still need to stop. The Rams, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. Sean McVay well. That team, I don't know, man. I don't know. They're a little surprising right now.
It's hard to get back to the Super Bowl, that hangover, but we'll see what happens. Like you said, I agree with you. It's going to I think everything's going to come to clarity within the next several weeks. But
who's your team? Who's your NFC team that you think is the team to beat?
Well, the Saints were my team I thought was going to get to Super Bowl and lose, but, we'll see now. The Packers, I think that I think everything's going to come together for them as well. It's going to be really interesting. Again, I think that it's wide open. And the AFC, Mark Maskey and I talked about them, so that's why we're not talking about them. It's the Patriots, the Chiefs, and
everybody else. Oh, yeah. No.
But the NFC is where the intrigue is going to be. But we're going to see. I'm, going to be Thursday night up here in Seattle for that game against the Rams, and then we'll see what happens in the next several weeks. But I know you've got to run. I really appreciate your time. Everybody check her out. Kmart, tell everybody where they can find you again.
On Twitter by Kimberley A. Kimberley is spelled Ley, by the way. And on Instagram, Kimberley Martin. And check me out on Cover 3 on Yahoo Sports for my show, my columns. Hopefully you'll read them as much as you read Mike's stuff.
All right. Thanks so much. And I will be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, hope you enjoyed that. Great to chop it up with Kimberley, and it's going to be interesting to see the journeys of these young quarterbacks and just how they develop or how they don't develop, the situations with their coaching staffs, their organizations, and how you're seeing with Jones the unity and the cohesion from the top to the bottom is putting him in position to succeed. And you're seeing with Haskins, nobody's on the same page, and so I don't know how it's going to play out. I do believe that he's probably not ready to go right now, and it's a good thing that he's not playing right now. I don't know if he's been brought along the proper way. Should they have been more flexible, more accommodating? I don't know. That's up to Jay Gruden to figure out, and we'll see, like I said, how this plays out, and we'll see how things take shape in the rest of the NFC. So on Sunday, if you missed that episode, Monday morning's episode, Mark Maskey and I talked about the AFC picture. Then yesterday, when Kimberley and I talked, which is for this episode here, we talked about the NFC picture after a quarter of the season. So you're all covered. Got you all covered, top to bottom, AFC, NFC. And when I come back, we're going to go game by game, all the action around the league, letting you know what you can keep an eye out for in just a couple minutes. All right, so here we are. We're going to start off with the Thursday night game. I am in Seattle. I am going to be here for this Rams-Seahawks game, and so that's where we're starting. Rams on the road, needing to bounce back from that embarrassing loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. I'm picking them. They're not favored. It's very tight point spread. It's like 1.5 point spread, but I'm going with the Rams to win 30-28. I just feel like that probably was a wake-up call, that game. They hadn't played great the week before that on the road in Cleveland. They had had a tough game on the road in the opener against Carolina. Now they're on the road again, but at least it's in the same time zone. But I think that they're going to dig deep. I think they're going to get the win. They've won back-to-back years in Seattle, a very tough place to play. But I've got them winning 30-28. My player to watch for the Rams is Jared Goff. He's coming off of one of the worst games of his career, at least during his time with Sean McVay. 3 interceptions and a fumble. He's got to do a better job at taking care of the football. They also have to run the football more, not put so much pressure on him. I think he had 68 dropbacks. That's way too much. So let's see how he responds to that. My guy to watch on the other side of the ball is Wilson. I just think that Russell Wilson, for some reason, I don't know why, he's overlooked, but he is off to a really great start. He and Patrick Mahomes, the only 2 guys in the top 10 in passing leaders who have no interceptions. Russell Wilson continues to just do his thing, carrying that team. We'll see if they can win in a shootout here with the Rams. They don't have as much firepower, but Wilson always finds a way to get it done. So we'll see how he responds there. Up next, we got the Jags at the Panthers. I'm picking the Panthers to win 24-22. It's going to be a close game. This is a great matchup of backup quarterbacks now in the spotlight. Kyle Allen for the Panthers, Gardner Minshew for the Jaguars. Who would have thought we've been saying this? It was supposed to be Cam Newton versus Nick Foles, but no. Injuries have changed plans, and so Kyle Allen, he's got 2 starts and so far no interceptions. Gardner Minshew has been playing ever since week 1 when Nick Foles got hurt. He's only got 1 interception. 2 impressive young quarterbacks. We'll see how they do here. Both of them going against really good defenses. It's probably going to be, they've got strong running games to support them, but the guy who can minimize mistakes the most is going to be the one who comes out on top. I'm giving Allen the slight edge being at home. Up next, we got the Cardinals at the Bengals. I really wanted to pick the Cardinals here. Bengals are favored. They're at home. I think the Cardinals are getting close, but they still have some issues that they still got to work on. So I'm going Bengals to get their first win, 27-25. I'm watching not just one player. This is a battle of the trenches. I'm watching the offensive lines and the defensive lines. Cincy's defense has not done well on pass rush, but they've got to get to the quarterback. But there's no better team to get right against than the Cardinals, who've given up 20 sacks in 4 games. That is a lot. Now, they are dropping back a lot. They're not running the ball very much, so that subjects your quarterback to risk of sacks. But I'm thinking that maybe this is the time that the Bengals get their pass rush going. But on the other side of the ball, we'll see how the Cardinals do in the pass rush department, because the Bengals have given up 19 sacks in their 4 games. So it's going to be on the defensive lines and the offensive lines of both of these teams that hinge on their success. But again, Bengals 27-25. Next up, got the Falcons at the Texans. The Texans, I've got them winning 28-21. Guy to watch is Deshaun Watson, because I know everybody keeps talking about his offensive line and how many times he's getting sacked, but as I was rewatching some of his games, he holds on to the ball a lot, and that's because he's an improviser, he's a creator, and that's great, and that makes him really good, but it also means that he's also scrambling around and putting himself in harm's way, and if he gets rid of the ball a little quicker, he's going to avoid some of those sacks. So he's got to eventually start figuring out when to cut bait, when to live to see another play, and just get rid of the ball. Deshaun Watson's my guy to watch for the Texans. On the other side of the ball, I'm watching Vic Beasley for the Falcons. Look, I want to say Matt Ryan, because he has got 6 interceptions to lead the league, and nobody's playing well on that team. It's like they got their money and they're just content now. I know that's not the case, but that's just how it looks. But Beasley's the guy I'm going to be watching, because he's supposed to be their best pass rusher, and he has not really gone off yet this year. 1.5 sacks. He's got to get going, and if there's a team that he can get going against, it's this week against the Texans, because, as we know, they struggle. Up next, we got the Bucks at the Saints. Now the Bucks are coming off of a great game, and they're going to be flying high. They're going against a divisional opponent, so this is going to be a dogfight of a game. It is Teddy Bridgewater versus Jameis Winston. I've got the Saints winning 28-26. I really want to see how Winston responds. He's coming off of one of the best games of his career. 385 yards and 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. That interception came at a bad time late in the game, almost let the Rams back into it. But as a whole, Winston played great. He's starting to make strides. We'll see if he can continue this and remember to take care of the ball a little bit better. But the guy I'm going to be watching on the Saints side of the ball is Marshawn Lattimore, because he's probably going to be going up against Mike Evans, and he is playing great. He shut down Amari Cooper last week for the Cowboys. He is off to a great start this year. He's got to rise up, guard Mike Evans, take him out of this game. And if that happens, then I feel like the Saints can win this game. Next up, the Vikings at the Giants. A lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins this game. I've got the Vikings winning. I'm saying Kirk responds. They win 30-27. Cousins is my guy to watch. He and Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is hot. He was really upset as Cousins missed him on deep passes, how Cousins has not delivered like the franchise quarterback he needs to. Thielen called out his quarterback. He called out his offensive coordinator. The frustration is building. We'll see how they respond. And of course, on the other side of the ball, I'm watching Daniel Jones, because last week he did not look as sharp as he did in his first game. He was going against a Redskins defense that's been struggling, but he got the job done. We'll see what he does against a pretty decent Vikings defense. If he can remain consistent, if he can continue to improve, or is he going to start looking like a rookie? He's won 2 straight games. Can he make it 3? I don't think so this time. Next up, we got the Bears versus the Raiders in London. London, chops. Yes, I've got the Bears winning 27-21. My guy to watch is Khalil Mack. Yes, he's going against his old team. He's got all the motivation in the world. The team that didn't want to pay him, the team that gave him away for a boatload of picks. He's predicting that he's going to have a monster game. He is going to go off, I feel like. And so that's why my guys to watch for the Raiders is not just one player. It's the whole offensive line. Khalil Mack's going to be lining up on the left side. He's going to be lining up on the right side. He's going to be stunting. He's going to be a one-man wrecking crew. And so we will see how he does there. But I'm picking the Bears to win that one on the other side of the pond. Even though they don't have Mitch Trubisky, I think Chase Daniel will be just fine running that offense. Next, got the Ravens in Pittsburgh. I've got the Ravens winning on the road, bouncing back from that loss against the Browns. Got the score 31-24. I feel like the Ravens are going to kind of be like this, up and down, up and down. They've got a young defense. Lamar Jackson's going to continue to do his thing, but the guy I'm really watching is on the defensive side of the ball, Earl Thomas. Did you see him last week? He looked old and slow. That run, that Nick Chubb 88-yard touchdown run, Thomas was chasing him. He got to the 30-yard line, and he just stopped. And he admitted after the game that he felt like if he kicked it into another gear, he was going to pull a hamstring. That's not good. This is only week 4, and your legs are feeling shot like that already. He's got to bounce back. Their tight end, Ricky Seals Jr., went off, and a lot of that comes on the coverage of the safeties. They were so focused on OBJ that they left him open. So Thomas has got to have a good game for the Ravens. And on the other side of the ball, I am looking at Devin Bush, the rookie linebacker for the Steelers. He's got to have a big game because you know that the Ravens want to run the football. And Bush and his guys have to take away the run, contain Mark Ingram, contain Lamar Jackson, and force them into a lot of passing situations so TJ Watt can get after them. But I've got the Ravens pulling this one out on the road. Next, got the Jets at the Eagles. Picking the Eagles to win this one pretty handily, 35-12. Going to be watching Sam Darnold. He's supposed to make his return from mono, but he's going to be under a lot of pressure. You would think they have struggled to protect him. But this week he's going against an Eagles team that their pass rush has not been very effective. So I'm looking at them to see if they can get right. Derek Barnett will be my guy to watch for the Eagles. He's their leading pass rusher. Even though nobody has done very well, they've done great against the run. So they're winning in the trenches there, but they're not winning on the edges. They've got to do a better job getting after the quarterback, but I've got the Eagles winning 35-12. Up next, Buffalo at Tennessee. I really wish I could do. I'm torn on this one. I want to pick Buffalo because I think that they're the better team, but at the same time, they might not have Josh Allen because of the concussion. He's still in the concussion monitoring program, so I'm going to go Titans 20-18. I'll be watching Marcus Mariota. He had the kind of game that you need him to have, responding to pressure. If he had played poorly last week, we very well could be looking at Ryan Tannehill as their starter. But Mariota went out there on the road, played well, completed 66% of his passes, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Let's see if he can do it again. My guy to watch on the other side of the ball, Josh Allen and Matt Barkley. If Josh Allen can't play, then Matt Barkley is the guy who's starting. And that's not exactly the most confidence-instilling guy under center. But we will see how he does. Next up, got the Patriots at the Redskins. Do we really even need to talk about this one? The Patriots, I got them winning 42-16. They're my lock of the week. Jamie Collins is on a hot streak, leading them pass rushing, 3.5 sacks. He's going to terrorize the Redskins offensive line. We'll see how Donald Penn does holding him off. And my guy to watch for the Redskins is Colt McCoy because I believe he's going to get the start. He has not played since breaking his leg last year in Philly. Their offensive line is a mess. It's not a great situation for any quarterback to be in. But, we'll see how it goes. Broncos at Chargers, and I've got the Chargers winning 33-24. My guy to watch is Melvin Gordon. Last week, he dressed but did not play. He was there in emergency purposes. Now he's been through another week of practice after his holdout. He should be playing. We'll see what kind of an impact he has. It's hard to go away from the hot hand in Austin Eckler, but Melvin Gordon is a better running back. And so we'll see how Anthony Lynn, former running back himself, decides to split their carries. On the other side of the ball, I've got Von Miller as my guy to watch. Now there's even more pressure on him. Bradley Chubb, their top pass rusher, his bookend, is out with a torn ACL. They have not done a good job of getting after quarterbacks, even though their head coach, Vic Fangio, is a defensive guy. But Von Miller finally got his first 2 sacks of the year last week. We'll see how he responds now that they're able to devote more pressure, more attention to him because Chubb's out. But I've got the Chargers winning that one. Packers at Cowboys. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think that the Cowboys win 29-27. Dak Prescott's my guy to watch. He did not have a touchdown pass last week. He was under a lot of pressure. Didn't look like the MVP candidate that we've seen for the first 3 weeks, as he was finally going against a stout defense. He's going up against a very good defense from the Packers. We'll see how he does. If I think he has a chance to bounce back and lead this team to a victory, get back on track, but it's going to be difficult. So he's my guy to watch. On the other side of the ball, I'm watching Jimmy Graham because the Packers very well, it looks like they're going to be without their top wide receiver, Devontae Adams. So the next best talented guy as a pass catcher is Jimmy Graham. So Aaron Rodgers is going to have to go to him. He's going to have to go off, give them a chance for them to win. Up next, got the Colts at the Chiefs. Feel like the Chiefs win this one 35-27. My guy to watch is Patrick Mahomes. He actually struggled last week against the Lions. Was not very effective on the deep ball. And he's going against a Colts defense that does a really good job of defending deep passes. So we'll see what Mahomes does. Is he, content to check down and move them down the field that way? Does he hit on those passes, those deep balls that he missed last week? I don't know. But that's my guy to watch. On the other side of the ball, I'm watching T.Y. Hilton because they really badly missed him last week when he was out with an injury. If he's healthy again, look for him to try to have a big impact against that secondary. They're still figuring some things out there, even though Bashaud Breeland is playing great, Tyrann Mathieu. But T.Y. Hilton is Jacoby Brissett's best friend. For them to have a chance, Hilton's got to have a big game, but I've got the Chiefs winning 35-27. And closing it all out, Monday Night Football, Browns at the 49ers. I got the 49ers winning this one 31-28. Really want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo. He's my guy to watch for the 49ers as they're coming off of their bye. He hasn't been amazing, but he's been decent. 5 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. He's got to cut down those turnovers. He's got to take better care of the ball, but he's starting to look more comfortable. Now as he kicks off the second quarter of the season, we'll see how he looks. He's at home, has a lot of weapons. They've got a strong run game to ease pressure on him. What kind of game is he going to have? And for the Browns, I'm watching OBJ. Last week, he was more of a decoy. He only had 2 catches, and that first catch didn't come till midway through the fourth quarter. They obviously want to get him more involved. But he's going against Richard Sherman, who is playing at a great high level right now in his second year with the 49ers. So that's going to be a great matchup to watch. But again, I got the 49ers winning 31-28. So we'll see how it all plays out. I thank you guys for watching, for listening to the podcast here. Hope you got some good information to help you out there. And again, read me, usatoday.com. Follow me on Twitter, @ByMikeJones, Instagram, @ByMikeJones. And I will talk to you guys on Monday morning.